Meeting of the December the 9th Board of Supervisors meeting to order. We'll note that we have a quorum, and we have Father Tarpley from St. John's Episcopal Church here to do the invocation. We'd like everyone to stand and remain standing after the invocation for the pledge.
Let us pray. Almighty God, you have given us a wonderful country, a historic commonwealth, and beautiful Wythe County. We thank you for our county board of supervisors and the work that is before them this evening. Help them to be good stewards of what has been given into their care. Guide them to be servants of the common good. And may your Holy Spirit help us all to discern what are the best choices for the welfare of our people. Bless us also at this Christmas time of year, and help us to be mindful of those who are in need at this time when your Son Jesus came to be born for us. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, I'd like to thank everyone for attending tonight. We'll get started with our agenda. The first item on the agenda is public hearing, VACO VML financing. Public hearing notice is hereby giving that on December the 9th, 2014, the Board of Supervisors of the County of Wythe, Virginia, will conduct a public hearing which may be continued or adjourned as required under applicable law in accordance with sections 15.2-2606 of the Code of Virginia of 1950 as amended with respect to the adoption by the Board of Supervisors of a resolution or resolutions as may be necessary or convenient regarding the proposed permanent finances of certain infrastructure improvements. The purpose of the financing is for one, water system improvements, expansions, and renovations, including providing service to the Barron Springs community. The renovation, rehabilitation, expansion, construction, and equipping of Rural Retreat Middle School, Sheffey Elementary School, Fort Chisholm Middle School, Spiller Elementary School, and Speedwell Elementary School, including but not limited to additional classrooms and gymnasiums, heating and air conditioning systems, plumbing facilities, windows, doors, ceilings, and lighting upgrades, security systems, furnishings, bleachers, walkways, and parking improvements, and ADA upgrades necessary for its facilities, and related engineering, administrative, and financing costs. The county plans to fund the project through a general obligation bond to be issued in a principal amount not to exceed $10 million. The amount is not in addition to the sum borrowed earlier for the project on an interim basis. This financing is to borrow sums for the permanent financing for the project, including paying off interim financing related to the school renovation, $8,025,000, which was borrowed in July of 2013. The public hearing, which may be continued or adjourned, will be conducted at 7 p.m. or as soon thereafter as the matters may be heard by the Board of Supervisors in the boardroom of the County Administration Building, 340 South 6th Street, Wythe, Virginia. Interested persons may appear at such time and place to present their views, whether orally or in writing, or submit written comments prior to the hearing. The county may set a time limit on speakers and other rules of procedure for the conduct of the public hearing. Any person with disabilities are urged to contact the county administrator's office at 276-223-4500 prior to the public hearing to arrange for any necessary accommodations. For further information, please contact the county administrator's office by orders of the Wythe County Board of Supervisors, R. L. Dalton County Administrator. I haven't had a sheet for anyone wishing to speak, but I'll open the floor for any citizen wishing to speak concerning this public hearing. Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. Next item on the agenda is employee bonus ordinance. Have a public hearing in compliance with the Code of Virginia amendment thereto. The Wythe County Board of Supervisors will conduct a public hearing to consider Wythe County Ordinance 2014-5 entitled Employee Bonus Ordinance of Wythe County, Virginia. The Board of Supervisors will hear comments from citizens concerning the proposed ordinance. The public hearing will be held Tuesday, December the 9th at 2014 at 7:10 p.m. in the boardroom of the Wythe County Office Building, 340 South 6th Street, Wythe, Virginia. A copy of the proposed ordinance is on file with the County Administrator's Office located at 340 South 6th Street, Wythe, Virginia, or outlined at www.wytheco.org for public review. I will open the floor now for any citizens' comment on the proposed ordinance.
Okay, I have a comment on this ordinance. I was very upset that you guys were feeling charitable, and after I read the newspaper publication, I thought, how come there is no monetary on there? There was nothing saying how much this will be. I don't think the general public knows that the county has approximately 160 employees, and the school has how many, and what the total amount of this charitable bonus would be. So you guys, you tethered a whole bunch of people, hundreds of people, over the last 2 years to the county water system. They now have a bill. Many of them did not want the water. They don't need it, and now they are tethered for life to the county water system. Jobs are still not good, and just because you're a public employee or a county employee doesn't entitle you to a raise or a bonus. There's plenty of people in the private sector that get no raises and get no bonuses. And I'd just like to remind you all that the government is a trust. The offices of the government or the officers are trustees. Both the trust and the trustees are created for the benefit of the people, not some people. And there are plenty of people that are going to go without heat this winter, and a whole lot of other problems within the county, and that's just starting. And it's really unfortunate that you choose to give a bonus to some people and perhaps not put it towards the bond that you talked about 2 weeks ago, that we were here for, the other bond issue of, what, $500,000, and towards the current debt instead of doing this. It's unnecessary, and I please ask you not to do it.
If anyone else would like to speak on the public hearing? Hearing none at this time, I'll close the public hearing. Mr. Dalton, I seen on the agenda the ordinance was right after that. Do you want us to go ahead and take it up?
You may, or you may go on to citizens' time and.
Well, we'll go on to citizens' time. We'll take it up after citizens' time. Okay, I'll now open the floor up for citizens' time. We have one person signed up. Ms. Myers has one subject to speak on.
Well, that was the subject I was going to speak on. And I have a salary schedule from 2013, and I don't know if you guys remember seeing this or not, and of course this was over a year ago, that the grand total of salary and benefits just for Wythe County employees, that doesn't include the school, was $5,455,404. that's a substantial amount of money. And maybe the employees could be reminded that we're paying salaries, and entitlements are not on the public's mind these days. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak during citizens' time? Hearing none, I'll close citizens' time.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
We have Mr. Slavin here with
Yeah.
us today.
I was going to bring Mr. Slavin up. He's going to give us a report on the airport commission.
Fortunately, excuse me for being a little hoarse, fortunately, I will be very brief tonight because there are no major projects being undertaken at the airport at the present time. And I'll say a word or two about that, and then we'll talk about the acquisition of the easements that have been a matter of concern previously. We are still looking into putting in security cameras at the airport. We have not been able to find an adequately, reasonably priced system. I think lots of folks would like to sell us a system, but we are still looking for something that will be somewhat less than the top dollar system that is usually recommended. Security fencing is a matter that is still on the agenda for the not immediate future, but it's going to have to be done because Homeland Security requires it. The runway resurfacing is a matter that has been deferred for another couple of years. We had it sealed, and that will probably hold it. I think that they said that it would be 2018 now before that would be worked on or necessary. So those are the only major items that I can come to mind. We have the question of navigation easement acquisition, which has been on the burner for a while. According to the printout which I have, and I'm happy to tell you that this was done by the lawyers who were representing the commission, and it's a little garbled, I think, what one might expect from lawyers. There were 35 parcels that were involved that were located around the airport property. Of those, a number have already settled with us and therefore are no longer an issue. There are, however, suits pending in circuit court in Smith County. There are 2 suits. There's a Billings suit and there's a Fry suit where condemnation actions have actually been filed. There is a meeting coming up on the 15th of this month in which the attorney who represents the Musser, Evans, and other property owners' interests will be, I think, probably negotiating, but at least discussing the issues involved. So in the case of, I'll list these as quickly as I can, parcels 12 to 17, number 24, number 25, number 26, and number 36, those are subjects of that meeting. The number that I have out of the 35, 4 were agreed before any action was taken, so those are no longer a matter of concern. There are also a number of these parcels in which an aerial survey will be required before any further action can be taken by the commission. And that is because in 2005, the survey did not show any encroachments which would require acquisition of easements. So, and as far as I know, no aerial surveys are forthcoming in the near future. So, that's basically where we are. And it's possible that there will be an agreement reached, although in one case I think we can pretty well assure the board that we will not be able to reach an agreement. There is one property owner who's had a long-running disagreement with the airport and the commission, sufficient to take the case to the Supreme Court of Virginia on one occasion, which I'm happy to say that we won. I have given over a list of these parcels and the names of the owners, and I'll give this to Mr. Dalton, and he can, I hope, make copies for the board if you would like to see it. My copier is a little bit shy of ink at the moment. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to address them.
Thank you, Mr. Slavin. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Slavin? Thank
All
you,
right,
Frank.
thank you.
Well, I think a couple of comments. In the minutes, Frank, the resolution that the board, all the boards passed and councils, it appears that y'all revised your fuel prices and some other things that we had concerns with.
Oh, yes, and thank you for reminding me. I will address that. We have raised our fuel price fairly substantially, and we've also raised the hangar rent. I think now we're at $125 per month for basically a small, single engine airplane. Those were done in compliance with the wishes of the board and the sponsors. We are still within marketable range in regard to the expenses both of fuel and of hangar rent. We're not the highest and we're not the lowest, but we are much more, I think percentage-wise, we've had a substantial increase on both. And I don't think that we've had any great loss of hangar occupants because of the raise of the rent. As far as I know, everybody's still there. Yeah, no other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Frank. Okay, that's it for this time. Okay, we'll bring up ordinance number 2014-05, employee bonus ordinance of Wythe County. A public hearing was held on December the 9th, 2014 at 7:10 p.m. in the boardroom of Wythe County Office Building, 340 South 6th Street, Wythe, Virginia, to consider enacting ordinance number 2014-05 entitled Employee Bonus Ordinance of Wythe County as follows. Whereas Virginia Code 15.2-1508 sets forth the procedure including the adoption of an ordinance by which the Board of Supervisors may provide the payment of monetary bonuses to county officers and employees. Whereas the Board of Supervisors, after duly noted and public hearing, has determined that the desire of the Board of Supervisors to provide the Wythe County officers and employees a monetary bonus shall be granted. Therefore, be it ordained by the Board of Supervisors of Wythe County, Virginia, that a bonus shall be identified as a lump sum payment to an officer or employee that is not part of the base salary. The Board of Supervisors shall pay a bonus of $200 to all full-time employees. The Board of Supervisors shall not pay a bonus to hourly workers, seasonal workers, and employees that have been employed less than 2 months on the day this ordinance is passed. This ordinance shall become effective on and after 12:01 a.m. on December the 10th, 2014, and this ordinance shall terminate on December the 31st, 2014. I open the floor up for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt.
I have a second.
I'll second
We have a motion to adopt and second. I open the floor up for discussion.
Now, Mr. Dalton, the school system will cover school employees.
Actually, and there's a list that I'd emailed you guys. The school system was, we have to amend and appropriate $60,000, and they'll take care of everything else. And we have a breakdown that we'll provide to the board based off employees. It's around $30,000 for county employees.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Horning?
Aye. Aye.
Aye. The chair votes aye. Motion passes 7-0. Okay, next order on the agenda is the minutes of the previous meeting of November the 25th, 2014.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve the minutes.
I have a second.
I'll second.
So any corrections or changes need to be made to the minutes? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Dr. Hausman?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
And the chair abstained. I was absent at the last meeting. Minutes are passed. Next item on the agenda is payment of invoices.
I'll make a motion that we pay the invoices as presented.
I have a second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to pay the invoices. Is there any board member would like to discuss any invoice? Or have any questions on any invoice? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Horny?
Aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
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 The chair votes aye. Invoices will be paid. Next item on the agenda is conflict of interest forms. Mr. Dalton?
Mr. Chairman, everybody needs this December the 15th of this year file their last paper copy of the conflict of interest. We've included a scanned copy of the lesson plan for June the 15th so that you can, beginning in June, file them electronically. That's now a twice-a-year event. So the filings that you do this month or by next Monday need to be here. We've got several people's, we still lack a few people's conflict of interest for them, but we will retain those copies in the office this year. Next June, you have to file those electronically and submit those. And you can see the long form and the newly revised forms for next year. The boards and commissions, we've also provided notice to all of them, I understand, to file these forms. If you've worked or are on any board for any authority, you need to file this with them too. Short form.
Mr. Dalton, this June, when this comes up that we got to do it online, and I haven't got to read through all this, do we come here and the county sets us up an account?
I guess we will if you'd like for us to, but, and if y'all say you want it, we'll set it up so you can just give you your passwords and you can log in on your iPad or whatever device at home you want to do, or come in here and do it. I went through all those instructions. It doesn't seem too onerous if you filled out the paperwork for the hard copy that you currently do. So, but you do have to log on and register for each and every board that you're on.
But this paperwork for this month is no different than it has been.
Just the date. It used to be January the 15th, now it's December the 15th. Next year it's June the 15th,
And there are some changes in the,
for next year, yes, on the electronic form. And with the Ethics Committee, I would, while you've got it, the Ethics Committee, the governor set up is, there's probably going to be a lot more changes before enacted by the General Assembly this coming session. The amounts of money that you've received will probably go down instead of up. So we would encourage, and I know all you guys run, but there are 4 elections this year. Be meticulous in your filings for all that.
Anybody have any other questions on the conflict of interest forms? Hearing none, we'll move along. Mr. Dalton, is there anything else under old business?
No, sir.
Okay, and we'll move on to under new business, bond resolution. It's on page 113 of your package. And this is a lengthy one, and I'm not going to read it. I open up the floor for a motion. Or Mr. Dalton, would you like to make any comments?
I'll summarize it if I may. Even though we've had our public hearing, this is the issuance for up to $10 million. The actual bond will be $9,900,000. $8,025,000 is the interim financing that we did for our Sheffey and Rural Retreat schools. $1 million is the financing of the community center at Sheffey. The remaining monies, and that portion will be paid from general fund dollars. The remaining portion, $975,000 or so, is for the Barron Springs Water Project. Those bills and portion of this financing will be paid through water rate billing to the customers in Barron Springs, Castleton Road area. So no general fund dollars will be used to repay that.
Okay, I'll open the floor up for a motion.
I'll make a motion, we accept the resolution.
Have a second.
Second.
I open the floor up for discussion. Does anyone have any other questions for Mr. Dalton or any other comments? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Dr. Hausman?
Aye.
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 The chair votes aye. Bond resolution passes. Next item on the agenda is the Mount Rogers Planning District Commission. Request for public comments for the Mount Rogers Economic Development District. Mr. Dalton.
The Mount Rogers is, as part of their ongoing requirement to receive future EDA money and other grant monies, have to file this report. They're asking for comments, and until I think it was Friday, December the 25th at 5 o'clock. If you have any comments about the plan and how they put it together, if you let us know, we'll send those over. Each locality assists Mount Rogers on an annual basis of putting this strategy together. I think Mr. Reeves, you as a board from Mount Rogers, reviews that and approves it. But this is a document that's required so they can fulfill all their obligations for funding.
Okay. If anyone has any comments or anything, get them to the county administration office as soon as possible. Okay, we'll move on with the next order of business. Our County Board of Supervisors rules and procedures for 2015. I'll open the floor up for discussion.
Mr. Chairman, this is a draft for next year that when you have your reorganizational meeting, that will be before you. We have put it together to give you adequate time instead of just presenting. There are a couple items that have changed about the meetings. The dates under 4.2 regular meetings have changed to Tuesday, June 30th, 2015 is your final meeting to wrap up the fiscal year. Also, the first regular meeting in November at night will be on Thursday, November the 12th, 2015, that's a mistake. Because normally it'll be, this year it was on a Wednesday. That conflicts with the Veterans Day holiday for next year. That'll allow everybody to attend that. But I would request that y'all study this, and if there's any portions of these rules of procedure that you want changed or suggest, to be ready to discuss those, or send your comments into Martha or myself prior, and we'll redline this so that any proposed changes, and on the first regular meeting in January, we can proceed with the discussion in a timely fashion of the rules of procedure.
Does anyone have any questions? Okay, we'll move along. Budget calendar for 2015.
You have a draft of the budget calendar for proposed calendar year 2015. It says 16, but it's fiscal year 16. We anticipate sending out letters requesting draft budgets or proposed budgets. January the 23rd, put on your calendar a meeting on the 27th, discuss the budget parameters and goals that the board would like to set, and we can set that time at your board meeting in January. But the highlighted or yellow areas are days that you can be expected, or we anticipate that everybody needs to attend on those days. The 4 or 5 work sessions on the 23rd of March, 24th, 25th, 26th, and 27th, you can sort of pencil in 8 to 5. And our hope is that we will have a budget adopted by May the 26th.
Okay, does anybody have any questions? Hearing none, we'll move along to the...
Mr. Reeves, I think
Yes.
that budget calendar needs to be adopted by
Oh,
the
okay.
board, if it's acceptable.
Does anybody see any conflicts on the calendar?
It
That
can
you
be
know of.
amended, as we did multiple times this past year.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to accept the
I
The
make a
budget
motion,
calendar.
I make a motion, we accept it as presented.
second. Before I have a motion and a second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of accepting the budget calendar for fiscal year 16, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Calendar is adopted. Next item on the agenda is the holiday schedule for December 2014. I have a request from Mr. Dalton. He's requested the Board of Supervisors provide additional hours of holiday time to employees on December the 24th, 2014. The Wythe County offices shall be closed on December 24th, 2014, if approved.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion that we provide the 4 additional hours so that the county offices can be closed on December the 24th.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I open the floor up for any discussion. Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Dr. Hausman?
Aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Okay. Mount Rogers Community Service Board financial statement for fiscal year 14. Mr. Dalton, we need to adopt this, don't we?
I think we need to accept it. What they've shown in their financial reports is their revenues exceeded their expenditures by close to $1 million last year, which makes them a viable unit, and they have adequate reserves on hand to operate their pretty enormous budget. It's half of what the county budget is, $48 million plus.
I open the floor up for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make that motion.
Have a second.
Second.
I open the floor up for any discussion, comments. Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Dr. Hausman?
Aye.
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 Huh?
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Okay, moving on the agenda, Sheriff's Bulletproof Vest Partnership Grant.
You have a letter from Captain Trivet that asked that the board approve this Bulletproof Vest Partnership Grant and also amend and appropriate $1,005.19.
I've read it. I open the floor up for a motion.
I'll make a motion, we accept the grant and then amend and appropriate $1,005.19.
I have a second.
Second.
I open the floor up for discussion. Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Horning?
Aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
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 The chair votes aye. Okay. Next item on the agenda is the Waco County Government Day 2015.
I'd asked if any, this is about a month and a half notice, so if all those that can attend that, notify Martha so that we can get you registered to go down that day. And I know Mr. Reeves has a board of directors meeting that day. So, but if you'll just let Martha know of your intentions over the next, about at least January the 14th, I guess.
And I will also mention, if you would like to serve on the Waco Steering Committee, need to get your forms in, you can go on the Waco website and fill out the forms and fax them down. If you see a committee that you would like to serve on, we need all the voices we can get in the state to represent our views on all the steering committees that Waco has to offer. When Legislative Day, the General Assembly meets this spring, Waco has a strong voice in representing our views. The counties, all the counties in Virginia, without them, I don't know if Richmond would listen to us much, but we do have a loud voice in Richmond. Waco does. I have I signed up 2 members from Blaine County. Mr. Henry Blessing has agreed to participate in one of the Waco steering committees, and Randy Johnson, the chairman, is going to participate in one of the steering committees. And I'll invite any of the board members here, if they would like to serve on the steering committee, please fill out the forms and get them in by the end of December. Okay, next thing on the agenda is the NACO presentation, prescription health discount program. Mr. Dalton, you want to talk on this?
Yes, sir. It's a pretty simple idea that NACO, through our membership, has come up with. As we all know, that the prescription drug discount card has been free to any citizen of the county. Due to our membership, this past year, I believe, somewhere over $30,000 has been saved by citizens of the county using the prescription drug card. They have now, based off of some requests from counties, came up with a dental discount program. An individual for $69 a year can have a dental discount, and if they have a family for 79 years, that covers everybody in that family. And under medical services, it's the same cost, $69 a year for individuals and $79 a year for a family. And if you look back on the following pages, it gives you a discussion of what is covered under those plans and what the percentages are. So under the health discount program, you get 35% off all your purchases of frames and glasses, 35% off of hearing aid prices. Same on diabetic supplies, 20% to 70% on lab work, diagnostic MRIs and such, about 40 to 75%, and even covers for those people that need it, LASIK and visions. And on the dental, it's 15 to 50% off most of dental procedures, and there's over 110,000 general dentists and specialists within the program. And back up on the vision side, and it's around 50,000 providers on the, including places like Lens Crafters, Nationwide Vision, Target Optical, and others. So it's pretty comprehensive service. Yeah. One of the things that requires for us to do before NACO allow people to sign up for the program is that the Board of Supervisors has to approve these two programs for your citizens.
Okay, I'll open up the floor now for a motion to approve these two new programs.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to accept these two new programs from NACO, the health and the dental. I'll open the floor up for any discussion.
So this past year, citizens of Wythe County have saved approximately $30,000.
I think that's the last time I looked at it.
Okay.
And the prescription card, even if you have prescription insurance and stuff, if you, like I had eye drops that my insurance didn't cover because they didn't have the generic, and it paid some of it.
Well, the hearing aids maybe perk up. What are our dues to NACO? Approximately.
$600 plus or minus.
Okay. So we're reaping some really good benefits from the dues that we pay.
Any more discussion or questions? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Dr. Hausman?
Aye.
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 And chair votes aye. Program is approved. Next item on the agenda is a report from the Building and Grounds Committee.
I think I chaired that this past time.
Okay. Or
In place of Mr. Hale, who's under the weather. Building and Grounds Committee has four recommendations to the board for consideration. The first is to award the county office building demolition project to Empire Salvage and Recycling at a bid amount of $31,863. You can see they were the low bidder by quite a substantial sum.
Okay, we'll take each one of these up one at a time. Come from committee, it doesn't need a second. I open the floor for any discussions or comments.
I had a question. Is part of that contract for them to secure and move the generator?
Yes. Yes.
It's got to be moved before they start tearing the building down? Thank you.
Any more questions or discussion? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Dr. Hausman?
Aye.
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 Yeah.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Next item.
Second recommendation was to withdraw the Fairview Industrial Park property from the surplus property sale.
And is
Okay.
that property that house? What is the property?
The property is around 6 acres, 6.9 acres, or close to 7. It's the habitat, where the Habitat for Humanity was in. What we're proposing to do is extension has been in the basement of the courthouse for a long time, a lot longer than we ever intended for them to be. The next motion will cover something to help that. Our intention is that if this happens, they will move to the house. We will let them use the property for projects with extension for 4-H and others, for crop growing demonstrations. Each one of those, we'll develop a memorandum of understanding so that you get feedback of what's happening on that property.
So it gives them more flexibility and opportunity for educational purposes.
Yes, sir.
To me, it makes sense. It gives,
I'm all right with that.
it gives extension land to do something with instead of
Yeah.
an office building.
Well, it helps immensely with parking problems, gets some parking away from here. And I'd like to add one thing, hopefully it'll happen, is that we get adequate signage on 52 so people can readily find it. Because there will be some time of adjustment when they move, but adequate signage of what's there.
I'll agree with that and make sure everybody's notified out in the public where we've relocated it at. Coming from committee, it doesn't need a second. I'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Horning?
Aye.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Next item.
Third item is to amend and appropriate $4,900 to remodel the house at Fairview Industrial Park, which it does need a little bit of work before somebody, so I think Billy's been out there and we've got that estimate to give them a decent place.
Structural stuff or just cosmetic?
Cosmetic painting, a little bit of fixed roof, handicap access ramp, worked on electrical, telephone, painting, new carpet. We say new carpet, but when we pull up the old carpet, if the hardwood floors are in good shape, we're going to fix the hardwood floors instead of putting carpet back there. But it's pretty cheap fix for office space to get them into an adequate area.
And that work was going to be done by Billy and his team. That's not going to be contracted out.
How many offices would it provide out there? It's been a long time since I've been in there.
There's 3 rooms upstairs. There's 4 rooms downstairs, I believe, or 3. I guess 4 counting the bathroom. There's a kitchen area which they want to have. Then there's an area to the left as you go through the door that they want to use as a receptionist. And then a conference room to the right. And then the 3 offices would be upstairs and they would come down. We got a 4-H agent, farm agent, I'll call Matthew because he does a little bit of everything, and there's a home science that deals a lot with baking, that position is open currently. People that are trying to get into business and stuff. And that's not the right name, but it is an agent that deals with mostly home products.
I know the JIDA, when they had it rented, they were trying to get the previous tenant to remove some stuff that was left. Has all that been removed?
I don't know if that's the previous tenant stuff or ours that we left last time when we moved out. But there are some stuff, things
Previous tenant.
left in it. But my understanding, we've already fixed the roof, and so we're well on our way.
Any other questions? Coming from committee, it doesn't need a second. I have a motion from the Building and Grounds to amend and appropriate $4,900 to remodel the house. Do a roll call vote. Dr. Hausman?
Aye.
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 And the chair votes aye. Next item.
Then the last recommendation, I think we've already discussed, but it's to authorize the staff, county staff, to enter into an agreement with the Extension Office for use of the house at the Fairview Industrial Park as office space.
Okay, come from committee, it doesn't need a second. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Dr. Hausman?
Aye.
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 The chair votes aye. Okay, next item on the agenda is the Treasurer's Office copy purchase agreement. Sam's copy machine blew up or quit working. We need Mr. Doctor to amend and appropriate the $3,024.
We do, and take it out of the reserve fund for equipment that we set aside, or the board set aside several years ago.
Okay, I'll open the floor for a motion to amend and appropriate the $3,024 for the copy machine in the Treasurer's Office.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Horny?
Aye.
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 The chair votes aye.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I think we inadvertently skipped an item. Item K, budget amendment and appropriation revisions.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, we have a letter from Mr. Dalton. Please consider the following changes are required for the fiscal year 15 budget. Mr. Dalton?
The first item is moving, all these funds are already appropriated and included in this year's budget. So what we're requesting is that we move funds from different sub-departments to the main department, 32021, 32022, 32023, 34, 35, 36, 42700 to the sheriff's main item to cover some insurance that they have. And the second part of the sheriff's is also to move another $21,000. That's a total of $63,000 that requires movement from a sub-department to the main department.
Since these are already in the budget, we're just moving them. Can we do it all at once? Or?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I'd make the motion that we accept all these recommendations for moving funds from the subgroups to the main departments.
I have a second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. I have the floor for any further discussion.
So you're talking about doing a wall?
I was just, yeah, because it's already, the money, it's in the budget, we're just moving it from one to another to, to pay bills. So I was just, the whole shooting match.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
May I ask the question of clarification? Does that mean all the items on this memo, Gary?
That's what I was looking at.
Okay.
Because, yeah,
Yeah, it's just moving.
that's what my.
Because it's all already been budgeted, it's just moving it from.
Right.
So it would be, 4 different departments.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Dr. Hausman?
Aye.
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Okay, next item on the agenda is a closed meeting. I'll, open the floor up for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, before you do that, while everybody's here, or the attendees, under other, the
Okay.
Board of Supervisors this past year had set out $10,000 for a call-out fee to volunteer fire departments. Half of that to be paid out at Christmas and half to be paid out next June. We're currently working with the fire departments to get all the data in here. I would ask for permission to do a prepaid checks to those 4 departments because I'd like to get it till before Christmas and pay that bill, so I'd ask for permission to do a prepaid to the 4 fire departments before the next board meeting.
I will make that as a motion.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Horny?
Aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
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 The chair votes aye. Motion passes. Now,
One other, I just want to make sure, are all the committees on slate for next week? Water Committee, Fire Rescue, and Budget? Okay.
okay, anything else? Okay, now I entertain the motion to go into closed session.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to go into closed session.
I have a second.
Second.
I want to read that.
Yeah, I'll move that the Wythe County Board of Supervisors convene in closed meeting to discuss the following as permitted by Virginia Code 2.2-3711A3, a matter involving the disposition of publicly owned property because public discussion of that matter would adversely affect the county's bargaining position and negotiating strategy.
Hearing that and having a second, do a roll call vote. Dr. Hausman?
Aye.
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 Chair votes aye. We're now in closed session.
Yeah, whereas the Wythe County Board of Supervisors has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and whereas Section 2.2-3712 of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the Wythe County Board of Supervisors that such a meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore be it resolved that the Wythe County Board of Supervisors hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification resolution applies, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the Wythe County Board of Supervisors.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I'll do a roll call vote for certification. Dr. Hausman?
Aye.
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 The chair votes aye. Okay, I'll open the floor up for any motions.
I'm standing where I started. If the man didn't do us right, I make a motion that we court order, whatever the procedure is, to start the process of condemnation of that property.
Do I have a second? Okay, I'll open the floor up for discussion. Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Dr. Hausman?
No.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes. Motion passes 4-3. Mr. Dalton, is there any other business to come before the board?
I have one thing I want to bring up to the board. We had the most trying meeting at my office hours yesterday evening. I'd like to schedule an opportunity with you and Tim or any appropriate committee to discuss a whole cadre of things relating back to that Maple Lane thing and other perceived injustices. Can you work out something that we can get together and go through this list of questions and go in whatever route it takes to either clarify or work them out? I don't think it's inappropriate for the board to know what's going on with that down there. Do we have a date when it's final? The Maple Lane closure.
I signed the ordinance, extract after the board meeting.
So, but when is there 60 days up to appeal?
60 days would be up from the adoption date of the ordinance, I believe, it was effective that day. So it was the day meeting we did that, January 28th or whatever, it would be roughly 24th, 25th.
You mean that doesn't start it?
No, 30 days from, I'm saying 60 days from November. The date y'all approved it, the November 20, whatever meeting.
Would be the end.
The end would be January.
That would be the end of the 60 days.
Okay, can we establish that? Because they intend to do two things. One is to appeal our action and to try to keep it from going through now. Tried several different solutions, and they weren't close to them, and readily admitted that it's a pretty worthless piece of property. But I'd like to know, Stephen, when that actual date is, and notify them of what that date is with the legal notification.
The ordinance was adopted on November 12th, 2014.
You say November the 12th?
If they're gonna sue the county, then you let them do their homework. I mean, I don't think we give them anything. You know, it's in the code that you've got 60 days from the date of ordinance. They can look up the ordinance and figure out when that is in the county. You know, I don't think we need to be sending them a letter saying, oh, if you wanna sue us, by the way, do it, you gotta do it before this date. I mean, they can figure that out. I mean, you do what you wanna do.
Scott, I totally agree with you.
But I'm not in your
sometimes-
chair. Sometimes you gotta take care of people, and that's different from what my role is.
Sometimes legal is not right,
I understand.
and you make a living on that. If it wasn't, if it's simple, everybody could do it. But I'm not real sure that I understand the procedure. I'm not understanding really that we complied with the procedure. I thought we were totally righteous in what we did. The notification in the paper is a notification. It put it out there for the world to see. And Stephen, I really believe at the time we voted on that the planning commission would notify the adjacent landowners. And then, as I understand it tonight, because that alley is there, we didn't consider them an adjacent landowner. Is that correct?
the adjacent landowners along the right-of-way that was abandoned were notified, which the only two landowners adjoining that right-of-way was Mr. Hoover. He owned both sides of the right-of-way.
But staying on the map here, you're saying that because of an unused alley being recorded, the landowner behind it is not affected?
That whole alleyway to the north, what you're talking about, a right-of-way to the north?
Yeah.
It's identified as a 40-foot right-of-way between the railroad tracks and the property, and then a 20-foot right-of-way are showing between the properties and the properties to the north. And I've got a plat of it with me, but I thought you might be asking about it.
Okay, at the end of that 20-foot right-of-way up there, where does it connect to?
One connects out of Mayapple Lane to the east, I'd say, in that direction. The other one just dead ends out there next to the, I guess, where the adjoining land.
So,
That's part of the Pope property.
I don't know what has happened, but I know that Mr. Hoover came in here after the ordinance was adopted. And he talked about now that he had seen this map, he understood that there was this 20-foot strip above all these properties. And he wanted to open this 20-foot strip all the way back over to this over here. I don't know if that's part of the problem or not, but Mayapple
which way?
comes in from your right.
Which way was he opening it up to?
To the right, to
To
the
the
east.
right. The Mayapple Lane comes off Pepper.
Well, he's going the other way. He's going the other way.
Well, Mayapple comes in from your right, from Pepper's Ferry Road, runs all the way down to the railroad tracks, and then the main road that everyone travels runs out the railroad tracks on the bottom of your map there.
But that's not but 13 feet on the edge there.
No, well, I haven't looked at the whole thing there to see what
That-
the width is right there at the edge.
Well,
It's
Stephen,
They-
state maintained road all the way down to there.
you're talking about Mayapple,
Yes.
and Mr. Reeves is talking about that 13-foot number there that's shown parallel to Lot 1.
Yes.
The same thing occurs on the other end
That's
of
the
that
other
thing.
side that's 13 feet.
If you go to the west.
I don't know if that's on, I do know that the state has indicated, we got an email today, the state right-of-way extends a quarter of a mile, 0.25 mile from 610, which takes it down around this corner. It's about where it is.
Actually, I read the email, but he's wrong because the state highway map says it's 4,600 a mile. But that dictates, the state map dictates whatever evidence they've got. And I sent that back to Mr. Russell.
I mean, our understanding is the state right-of-way runs all the way to this western end.
2,428 feet.
Well, which lot does that line up with on this plat?
Well, you know what you meant, it's probably close to the lot 28 or 30 near the end, isn't it? 2,400 feet?
30 is the most western lot. And that's talking about Mayapple Lane, but what's really happened down there, and I haven't been able to get out there, maybe tomorrow I will. And if y'all remember, when this whole thing come up, I stayed out of it, because this is very Hoover-like. He did the same thing over in Max Meadows. You give him a foot and he'll be on top of that hill by the end of the year. He went through that public right-of-way with his grading. Does he have access to that land by the $1,000 we sold him? I don't think so.
The only thing that we conveyed to them is that area highlighted in red between 13 and 14.
So in essence, we did not vacate the right-of-way parallel behind the properties.
Correct.
Okay, so he's gone beyond that, which is a different issue. He's gone on to the adjacent property, which is a different issue. You know, the only thing that concerns me in this whole mess, because I think it's worked for 2 or 3 different lawyers, but that we were a victim of not knowing what this would lead to, although I knew what he was. And he actually felt like I wasn't doing the job for him, so he got poor old Coy involved here.
That's where I would be interested in finding out, because when he came in here and said he was going to improve this 20-foot strip, because this 20-foot strip to the north was legal access to his property also, which it is a right-of-way. It is not owned by the owners to the north. It is not owned by the owners to the south. It is not showing as a tax map on any of it. It is showing as this 20-foot strip of land. It is a right-of-way running across through there. I wonder if he is doing something with that right-of-way, which he could do regardless of whether we vacated that portion in between his property or not. That is what's creating the problems with his adjoining landowner. I think with the knowledge he gained that there's that 20-foot strip up there is what he started creating problems with, and that's just my guess. And I thought when he came in here that day and mentioned that he said he might work on opening that right away to the north. And I just said, if you do that, I would recommend talking to all the landowners that are through there, because that's not been used.
Okay.
I think that is probably what's created more of the problem. His home has been across this other right of way, between lots 13 and 14. It's not been used.
Okay, but put yourself in both positions, or any member of the board. How did the house get on a public right-of-way to start with? We wrote a permit for it to be there. We went out and inspected it and okayed it. So regardless of what the law says, we're morally in this mess by default. Doesn't have anything to do with what the law says. It's what is and what happened. I don't understand how it happened, but it did. We can't fix what was yesterday, but I don't feel like that we had all the facts where we made that decision to reduce the price and sell it. Now, anybody here can go out there and look at that and say there's no way you can build a road up through there. You just can't build a public road up that hill. There's not enough distance. But by giving him access back there, you're telling me that he can do anything he wants to on that public right-of-way?
We've not given him that access.
No, vacating that right of way didn't give him access. That access has always been there. That plat is, I don't know, it's
Plat book 1, page 25 or
I
something.
mean, it's old. So if his deed says, I've got a right of way to use all the roads shown on such and such a plat by the developer, then he can do whatever he wants on that road. He can go down through there and pave it if he wants.
You mean?
If he was granted a right of way, that 20 feet to access his lot 13 and 14, if he was granted the right of way from the developer, then he's got a right to use that 20 feet.
But Chuck,
If it's in the deed.
that's not why it happened. It happened because the house was sitting on the public right-of-way.
In that 40 feet that we vacated, yes.
Yeah, that's my point.
That's what, we vacated it because the house was sitting in the middle of it. Yeah.
And we didn't want to cause him to move it.
Right.
Now, it's become a much bigger problem because although he's a pipe fitter and a welder, he's obviously smarter than we are. The issue of going in and tearing out the line fence and all that and letting the cows out, that's a legal matter for another venue. But I'm just asking, can we work on this, or do you think that we're clean, we stay out of it, and let the other landowners do their work? I agree with what you're saying. We don't need to get in that mess, but I have to think we're already got their apples in that mess.
And him doing his homework to bring information to us, vacate the 40-foot strip between lots 13 and 14, if he discovered that he got access on that 20 feet from his surveyor or from his attorney or whoever. I mean, we didn't cause that. He came to us wanting to vacate it, and we said, this is what we need. He went and got it. He said, I want to vacate this area between my two lots where my mobile home is sitting. We all seemed like that was a good idea and said, yeah, that sounds fine, and you vacated. But you didn't go beyond the corner of lot 13 and 14 into that, whatever width that right-of-way is behind these lots.
He could have done that off of the two lots that he already had.
Correct. The vacation of the right-of-way in between his two lots didn't cause him to be able to use it now. He could have done it before we vacated the right-of-way. If we voted no on vacating the right-of-way, he could still access the property, or he can at least have a fight over that little strip in the back with the neighbors if he wants.
If I were some of the other owners that are concerned with it, I'd come back and request that you all vacate the right of way to the north. And just leave the right of way to the south. He may be the only owner that objects to it, but it still would come to you all for a vote to vacate that alleyway. And then like some of these landowners that own the lots to the north and the lots to the south, then would have this right of way vacated, and it would not be an access route for him to use it.
They own the center, they would own the center of that, whatever that strip is there. It's 20 feet, then each owns 10 feet of the middle, down to the middle.
I understand that solution,
And you can vacate on your own, you don't have to have them come after you.
if you take part of what you said and add one more thing, had we have not said, yes, we'll vacate the right-of-way for a price, then would it have been a natural step to tell him to get the house off the right-of-way?
Actually, there is a code section, and we've done, the Board of Supervisors has done this before, have authorized people to use the right-of-way for a specific purpose. This, Emily Jones, the Max Member, has got a little building, she had a survey done, and the board allowed her to allow that building, the fence, or whatever it was, to stay on that right-of-way until such time that it was needed for public necessity.
Did
Well,
the
you
same
can
thing
give
in
it,
Meadow.
like, you can give people permission.
Well, do you remember when we brought up the alleyway off of Virginia Street? I thought that was the procedure, that the board could, but at that time you said if anybody objects, we can't do it. So he had a neighbor that objected, and we didn't do it. And I really believe that there was a notification process that just happened. That was silly of me to believe that, but I believe that there was a process when these vacations happened, that everybody was notified. And we can argue that putting it in willful surprise makes it a legal notification. Is it a courteous notification? Probably not, but it's a legal notification. And the whole thing, and I've wondered, is there any way to revisit this thing, or do they need to bring a court action and stop it? And go to war with him, or do they go to war with the county, or all of us in the same suit?
I think the question would be, Joe, if we went through the procedure, the process, whatever, to vacate it, would that resolve the issue? And I don't know if that would resolve the issue. If the issue is the 20-foot strip to the north that he has access to, regardless of whether this property is vacated between 13 and 14 or not, I don't know that you would resolve the issue.
Well, I agree with that. If he gains access to all of that 20 foot, he's going to take advantage of it from the furthest east he can go, the furthest to the west he can go, because his model of operation is very cognizant down there in Max Meadows, what he did. What is that, Brock Street, where he did all that work down there? He's way over on the right of way there. extended his property by filling in over on the right of way. It's his operation, that's the way he does things. And there's people like that. I'll do it and beg forgiveness, but I'm not gonna ask. And we're party to that, I think.
Do they own lot 2 and 3?
Mm-mm.
Go for some 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Like, I'm just
4 and
just
5.
asking, why were they not notified? You're saying that little band of right of way negates notification of somebody on the other side?
Yeah, they don't join it.
They didn't join what we vacated.
And
We
it
didn't
did not,
vacate that 20
and
feet.
vacating that portion did not cut off their access to it.
Well, okay, I mean,
That's what
technically I see
confused
that,
me.
but realistically,
But how does realistically it hurt us? They don't gain access that way. Well, I guess they could gain access.
oh, I'm not, no, I'm not, defending their case at all. It does look to me like though, if there's just 20-foot right of way in there that nobody's using it, it's just ground that, in effect, the adjoining landowner is those people in lot 2 and 3.
I mean, had,
Well, if he's got a fence on the other side of that right of way, then that fence is in the wrong place. That fence should be on his boundary line on the north side of that road.
So, he's got a fence on the other side of the.
I don't know where it is, but if this man took out the fence so he could drive out on that 20 feet, then it must have been on the right of way. If he measured it right. I mean, if the surveyor said this fence, because if the property owner comes and says, here's my boundary line, oh, by the way, there's an extra 20 feet here of an alleyway, I'm gonna go ahead and fence to the other side of the alley, because nobody's using it. And if he took the fence off on that side so he could use the alley, I don't think there's anything wrong. Because it's not the go-forth line.
Right, if he
If
took,
that's what,
if it
I
was
don't
on his
understand what
side.
happened, but if he removed the fence, and that fence was on the boundary of the go-forth property, then that's a property issue, just, damage to property or whatever, they can file claim against him.
Well, Joe, to answer, before we got started, to answer your question, the chairman will set up a little property review committee at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, it's 8 o'clock Thursday morning. The county attorney
I'll be there at 8.
and be over there, and we'll go through the whole process and come to some kind of conclusion or recommendation.
Well, I'll,
Basically what I had to start with.
I'll set up a land review committee of Joe, who's the having volunteers.
Coy, he's been in-
Coy, and since I've been involved with it, I'll I'll be me and Coy and Joe. Thursday at 8,
Thursday at 8,
yes,
or about
here.
here, right here at May Apple Way.
Bring the folks. We really need to know, have the original deed to see who has rights to use that property. Michelle.
I bet you Glenn was using that
Send
20
Scott a
foot,
copy
and took
tomorrow.
it away from him when he tore the fence down.
Oh, yeah, the fence has always been on the back of those property lines.
Well, that's probably his biggest gripe.
But, will y'all handle that notification to them, or do you want
Oh,
me
you
to talk?
want them here?
Oh, you just want to get our ducks in a row?
Yeah, let's get our ducks in a row first before we invite anybody else to talk to them.
We still having a dinner on Tuesday night. Legislative dinner.
Oh, we still having the legislative dinner on Thursday night?
Mr. Chairman, I won't be the one thing appointment. That
Okay.
afternoon, I doubt we make it back in time.
I won't be there either.
Huh?
I won't be there either.
Martha, I didn't hear your answer.
Yes, Thursday.
Well, at the meeting center. And that would be,
Put down the email, so
At what time? And who are we supposed to have there?
Jeff Campbell will be there, and
mean, the full board is gonna be there, except Jean.
Except me, won't be like, unless I got a truck wreck, I'll be there. Boys clean it up, I'll be there.
It's a continuation of the meeting, right? Or is it?
Anybody have any other business? Hearing none, I'll declare us adjourned. Recess. Oh, to the meeting.